My friends, how are you? It's great to see you for yet another video, my friends. I have spent the last 2 days of my life sitting right next to a Donald Trump supporter, not like just a guy that voted for Donald Trump or anything like that, a guy that made Donald Trump his entire personality. And I had to sit there for 2 days and just listen to the absolute nonsense. And I know, my friends, you're asking, why didn't you confront him? Why didn't you get in his face? Well, I was in a professional environment and I still need a paycheck, my friend, so I had to behave myself, but I got to listen to a bunch of interesting information. We'll do air quotes for that again. And it was just kind of overall a couple of really dreadful days. You see, my friends, I don't actually have bad days, but some days are worse than others, and the last two really sucked. They weren't a ton of fun. So as you guys know, I've been a little bit busy with real life things, trying to get my life back on track after an unfortunate series of events a couple weeks ago that led to my ass sitting around the house doing absolutely nothing. But don't worry about me, I got it done. But the unfortunate part is I got sort of out of the news cycle. I wasn't able to pay attention to what all was happening out there, so I've kind of been slacking on the channel the last couple days. But we're about to hit the road again, get out there, fill our brains with the news all day, and to kind of get my take on the stories that are going on out there. But hey, you know, that's the way it goes, my friends. But we're getting ready to hit the road again. I am absolutely shocked, absolutely stunned, my friends, you might say, that Donald Trump has not started a war yet. That was my last video. I don't know too much, like I said, about sort of foreign affairs, things like that, but it seems bad when Donald Trump is tweeting or truthing all of the things he's going to do to Iran about how their supreme leader or whatever is an easy target and we've got control of the airspace over Iran and all these things. Look, like I said in my last video, when it comes to Iran and Israel, I don't really know who the good guy is in this scenario, but with the temperament of Donald Trump, I got a feeling all hell is going to break loose pretty soon. And I'm shocked that so far we haven't found ourselves in another war. So that's pretty crazy. Anyways, yeah, the last couple days I have been sitting directly right next to a Donald Trump supporter, somebody that has made his entire personality about Donald Trump, which is why, my friends, I always make fun of the MAGA movement. You know how they're a bunch of big old scary tough guys? They're a bunch of alpha males that take their marching orders from another guy that only think what they're told to think. You know, the alpha males of our society here in America, the big tough guys. So you guys know I'm always sort of making fun of that. I wasn't paying too much attention to it. In the kind of environment that I'm in, I kind of expected that I would end up sitting next to a Trump supporter. That's just kind of the field I work in, my friend. So it always fucking happens. But anyways, the first thing I noticed about this guy is he had a big dog. As a matter of fact, we rode in together because I brought a rental car to where we were going, and I didn't have a ride, and he offered to give me a ride, which was nice of him. Don't get me wrong, like every once in a while you'll see a little glimmer of human decency inside a Trump supporter, and then they quickly find ways to fuck that up. Like, it's in there, but it's just like deep down. So he gave me a ride, and that was really nice of him. He had this huge dog with him. This dog is a big sumbitch, really a sweetheart, a really nice dog. I fucking love dogs, right? But he said some interesting things to me that started the little gears in my head turning, going, there must be something to this guy that I don't think I'm going to fucking like. And it wasn't long before I started to understand what those things were and what was going on. So the reason I'm doing this video is because this is kind of the bullshit that we're surrounded by every day out there. These absolute lunatics, and they're sitting right next to us, my friends. It makes the world a scary place, doesn't it? But he's got this big dog. I don't know what kind of dog it is. The dog's a fucking sweetheart. I love dogs. The dogs are the best people on the planet. That's for damn sure. Dogs are good people, my friends. Anyways, he was talking about how cool his dog was, and that's awesome. And he said something that kind of I don't know if it triggered me. Maybe it triggered me. Shit, I don't know. I'm a fucking lib, apparently. We're always triggered. I don't fucking know. I just go off what the internet tells me. I don't know shit anymore. I'm just kidding. But anyways, he was talking about, I was petting his dog, and he goes, yeah, you should have seen it, man. Every black dude in that motel was afraid of this dog. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a weird take. Every black dude in the motel was afraid of the dog. I don't know what I think about that, honestly. Look, the dog's big. The dog's intimidating. Everybody's going to be afraid of this dog if they don't know this dog, right? And then as we started going through our day, we had to sit in a classroom, next to each other. And he brought his dog in with him to hang out and sit down on the floor and all that stuff. And every time someone would mention his dog, he always over and over would reference how scared black people were of his dog in particular. Like everywhere I go, black people just turn around and walk away when they see this dog. And I'm like, man, this is fucking bizarre. This is strange behavior. What is he talking about? And finally, it all came out. I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue or what, but he was talking about when he walks around the truck stops at night. You know, when I go walking around the truck stop at night, he said, what I really, really like about this dog is I'll be walking around the truck stop at night, and across the lot, I'll see some black guy walking towards me, and as he gets closer, he realizes how big my dog is, and he turns around and he walks the other way. This dog fucking terrifies black people. So basically what's going on, in case anybody's confused, this is a grown man living in fear of black people, right? So he had to get a dog to protect him from the black people. And I understand that I'm laughing about that, and it's really I shouldn't be. It's a very deep ingrained issue in America that people actually think like that. To a guy like me, I think it's kind of comical. Everywhere this dude goes, he's like living his life in fear that there might be a black person somewhere in his general vicinity, and he's flipping the fuck out about it. But he kept on pointing out over and over that black people are terrified of this dog. And if I know anything about dogs, my friends, dogs aren't racist. Dogs fucking love everyone, unless they're like a whip dog that's been abused and shit, which isn't funny. Then they kind of tend to hate people in general. But you have to like teach a dog to be a racist. But I don't think the dog's racist. The dog's the sweetest dog in the world. I think that this guy is living in a fantasy, like a lot of the whole MAGA movement lives in, right? He's living in a fantasy where he's protected from all the black people by his dog. And that wasn't even like the most concerning part of the, well, that was pretty concerning, actually. That's pretty fucking strange. I go all over this country, my friends, and I've been in, obviously, New Mexico, Southern California. I've been in, all of the southern states. I've been to all of the fucking states. The point I'm making with that is I've been around a mix of different ethnicities all over this country. And I have never spent my life I have never lived my life in fear that there might be a black person near me. It was super bizarre. This guy's got a whole fantasy going on about the dog protects him from black people. But then he started talking about, we started talking about where we're from and everything, because in this line of work, everyone's from different places, right? And when they got to me, they asked where I'm from. And you know me, I have to, because when I travel the country, I have to be a smug prick about it. I'm kidding, but I always say I'm from Colorado. And every time I say I'm from Colorado, people all over this country go, oh, Colorado, wow, you live over there? I don't know why people think it's such a magical, mythical place. It's just a state. There's mountains and stuff, I guess. We were the first state to like legalize weed, but that's years ago. That's a long fucking time ago. So I don't know. People think it's like this mythical, magical place, Colorado. So it's always fun to get a reaction from a room that gets very surprised by that. And then we started talking about like things to do in Denver. And me, I'm a grumpy old man myself, my friend. So I said, you know what, honestly, I don't really go to Denver because it's so fucking busy. You wait in line to do goddamn everything. I don't really go to Denver that much because I got back pain. I'm grumpy. I don't want to deal with people. I'm sort of, believe it or not, sort of an introvert. I know I do these videos, but for the most part in life, I kind of keep to myself, And so the dude with the racist dog apparently turns to me and goes, I don't go to Denver because there's too many goddamn liberals in Denver. And I started laughing. I'm like, what do you mean by too many liberals? Well, they're all out there. You know how the liberals are. They're all out there. They're rioting in the streets, and they're forcing their sexual identity on you and all these things. And I started laughing, and I said, well, Denver is definitely more of a blue city, but I've never been involved in a riot. I've never been walking through Denver, and it's been years since I've actually walked through Denver, but I've never been walking through Denver and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gay, fuck, oh god, I was a straight white man until I got here, and now I'm fucking gay. I cannot believe that happened to me. And that pales in comparison to the time I was walking through Denver and somebody forced their transgender on me. I left Denver transgender. I'm just kidding. None of this fucking happened. I like laughed at the guy, and like in a joking way, I said, how do you get like somebody's sexual identity forced on you? How exactly does that happen? And he's like, well, they're always kicking it down your fucking throat. And I said, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm from Denver. Well, I'm from Colorado. I can't claim Denver. I don't want people to get the wrong idea and think I'm actually from Denver, but I've never had that happen in my life. And I've heard ignorant fucks from Colorado even say that, like, I ain't going down there. They're going to turn me into one of them queers. Like, what are you talking about? That has never happened in my fucking life. In my life. I've never had that happen. But then when we got onto that topic, he started talking about he was referring to protest as riots, you know, because MAGA eats up a whole bunch of Fox News propaganda, which, side note, is super fucking interesting. Let me talk about that for a second. Super interesting to see what's his name, Tucker Carlson, going back and forth with Ted Cruz now, where Ted Cruz didn't know anything about Iran, and Tucker Carlson was asking him what the fuck he was doing. The infighting in MAGA is absolutely fucking glorious. But anyways, back to the point. He was referring to the No Kings protest that a lot of us just participated in. And he started calling them riots. He's like, the left is always so violent when they go out in the streets and riot. Now, I didn't mention to him that they're a party of insurrectionists. Look, I was trying to be professional, my friends. I need a paycheck, all right? I can't sit around the house all the fucking time. I can sit there sometimes, but not all the time. So I'm trying to be professional, and so I didn't bring up the January 6th thing. I didn't mention it. I just was kind of trying to mind my fucking business, if I'm being honest with you. But he started talking about, like, our safety team was in there from where I'm at, right? The safety director was in there giving us a little speech, and he started talking about the rioters. And of course he came up with a brilliant MAGA plan, because MAGA plans are fucking brilliant, aren't they, my friends? And he started talking about, well, if I see the protesters, is there any rule in the safety handbook that says I can't run them over? And then he started laughing hysterically. This is MAGA, my friends, and let's not, look, I know that sometimes I get excited and I seem like really thrilled with the shit that's coming out of my mouth. It's because we live in a fucking dark time, and sometimes I don't know how to cope with everything besides just to fucking laugh at it, right? Remember that just last week, I think it was, whenever I was home, the No Kings was going on. There was a violent MAGA lunatic out there shooting, my friends, at elected Democrat officials. And I think there was more than one shooting, but that was up in Minnesota. Correct me if I'm wrong. I always screw up Minnesota, Wisconsin, shit like that. But they live in a fucking fantasy where they commit acts of violence on a regular basis. It's super regular. And then they blame the left and say the left is a bunch of violent lunatics. I don't know if they know what that fucking word means. It's fucking crazy. So you can imagine by now, my friends, how do I want to say this? He was starting to get on my fucking nerves, but I have to be professional in certain environments. You understand, right? Don't be mad at me for me needing a paycheck, okay? Anyways, that was starting to bother me a bit. But then, he, of course, went on the huge topic about guns. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the reason I tell this story is because these are the people that we're surrounded by. The man's deathly afraid of black people, so much that he got a dog. He's worried that he's going to be turned transgender if he drives a truck into a liberal city. God, Jesus, fuck, what else? I don't even know with this guy. Went on to tell us all about all the guns he has. I mean, I'm not an anti-gun guy. I just am not necessarily a fan of guns, right? I have a crossbow at home that I really like playing with because the redneck gene does run deep in me, my friends. And that crossbow's a lot of fucking fun. I just enjoy shooting that at stuff. And I get it. I understand the appeal of like shooting at stuff. Trust me, I fucking get it. But when you start talking about how many guns you have, like I got 36 fucking guns, and you start talking about all of them and how I can hit that target from 1,000 yards out. When I hear a guy go on and on about how many guns he has, honestly, I hear a scared man. I hear a guy that is scared of fucking life talking about everything. Anyways, we kind of have a little bit different trucks around here. I'm in like one of the old school trucks, right? The long nose Pete. That's what I'm driving here. Yeah, I'm a real trucker now, finally, my friends. We have sort of these like older trucks, and they're older style. They're not older trucks. They're older style. It's interesting, but they're not very good for the fuel mileage. It's really bad because they're boxes. They're just big metal boxes, not aerodynamic at all, going down the road, right? But we started getting on the discussion of fuel mileage because every trucking company out there is super interested in getting the best fuel mileage that they can, which has to do with maintaining your speed. There's different ways to save fuel, of course. And this guy gets a smug fucking look on his face, my friends. Just a smug fucking look. And he's like, well, under Biden, those fuel prices were through the fucking roof. And they were. Look, I'm not saying, I'm not a bootlicker of my political party. There was a lot that Biden had to clean up after Donald Trump crashed the economy the fucking last time. And for a long time, gas and diesel prices were absolutely fucking insane. They're still up there, don't fucking get me wrong, but they were absolutely fucking insane. Sorry, everybody's moving around me. I think it's almost time for me to get to work. But we started talking about fuel mileage and saving money and all that stuff, and the guy got the smug look on his fucking face, and he goes, well, it's not going to be a problem. Now that Trump's in office, he's going to lower those fuel prices. Have these guys lost their fucking minds, my friends? Have they lost their ever-loving minds? Literally right now, Donald Trump is threatening Iran and their supreme leader and all this shit. All hell's about to break loose in the Middle East involving America. I believe that Iran was talking about blowing up fucking oil sites if America gets involved, something like that. I need to follow up on that some more. Nothing Donald Trump is doing has lowered fuel prices. That's just, it hasn't fucking happened. But like I said, these guys live in a fantasy land where like facts don't matter. And that's what's going on. Facts don't matter, my friends. He was going on and on and on about how Donald Trump is going to lower the fuel prices and we're not going to have to worry about it anymore. We could drive these trucks 90 miles an hour if we want because Donald Trump's going to bring fuel prices so damn low. And anyways, the point is, I had 2 days from hell, my friend, sitting right next to a raving lunatic that had no idea what he was talking about, but must sit around in his truck all day listening to, Fox News and AM radio and who knows what he's listening to as he goes down the road, just poisoning his fucking brain with absolute nonsense. And these guys, one of the worst things about MAGA is these guys think they're so goddamn cool when they're like spouting bullshit out of their mouths. Have you guys ever been next to a MAGA person that was just like spouting nonsense? Have you ever noticed how they stand up straight and they puff their chest out and they're so proud of the absolute nonsense that's coming out of their fucking mouths? That's what I had to deal with for the last 2 days as I listened to a madman rant and rave about everything. Everything he said was wrong is the fucking point. But don't worry, my friends. I'm out of there now. I'm getting ready to hit the road again where I can just hang out with my thoughts and real journalists that are out there on the internet. And we can start putting out more of the news of what's really happening instead of the fantasy that MAGA lives in. Anyways, it's getting very hot in here now. I turned off the AC so y'all could hear me because the fans are very loud in here. I got to get ready to go. Everybody else started moving, so I think something is happening. Love you guys. Bye now.